space, not yeah. Francis Louise, thank you very much. This is it's Louise, isn't it? I've got that right. Frankie Mac.
That is it. Yeah.
Sorry. How are you? Thank you so much. You are. I kind of feel weird now because I said yesterday to because I spoke to Susie Bates yesterday and I said, look, you're one of my cricketing heroes, cricketing legends. Now I can't keep using those things to the people that I keep talking to, but I love what you've always brought to cricket. And no one met you quite some time ago in a small park in Chesterfield, but have bounced into around and around. So thank you so much. What are you doing right now?
Other than sitting here talking to you?
Yeah, come on.
Which obviously the best way to be spending an evening, absolutely. So just lots of time at home at the moment, which to be honest, after a really hectic summer is actually really nice. Like that sounds horrible to be saying, but if you were going to say to me, you have to have a few weeks cooped up at home, pick your time of year to do it, this is probably pretty close to that time. So full on summer. Missed a lot of work and had a lot of actual work to catch up on and then to be luckily I'm with the Christchurch City Council, so we are very lucky that good employer, good supportive person to be with, and so we're on 4 weeks of paid work from home, which is cool. So the opportunity to get in and do some real library stuff, read a lot of books, do some reviews, do a bit of stuff that had been missing as well, and hopefully we don't miss a beat, and then in hopefully 4 weeks we'll be back into it. And then we've just started our Canterbury cricket end of season reviews as well. So
slow down. You've got like this already. You've talked about your work. You've talked about a busy season. Now you're talking about your reviews, which is then slow down, Frankie. Now, when you say you've had a busy season, I'm going to come back to that. But when you say you've already missed lots of work, are you saying there's not many books on shelves that you need to get back in and put some books back on shelves? I know a library assistant job is a whole lot more than that. I think library assistants are underrated people. One of my good friends from university, library assistant up in Taranaki. She's an amazing person. She is one of the choicest people I know. Similarly to yourself, has an opinion, knows what she's talking about, and it just and voices it in the right way. Tell me about your library job, because that's different.
It is different. It is a little different. I get a lot of people who say, "What do you do for work?" And when I say I'm a librarian, they just think, "No way, that cannot be what you do."
I think it matches though. Given that I know another librarian, I think you two are very much quite similar.
Yeah. No, it's cool. It's really cool. It's really nice as well to have a job that is out of the sporting world and out of the cricket sphere. I say all the time to people that the nicest thing is, you play a weekend of cricket, turn up to work on a Monday morning, people ask how your weekend was, and you go, "Oh, we got smoked and I got a duck and it was awful." And they were like, "Oh, but weren't you in Auckland? Surely you went to a nice restaurant or something." And you just go, "Yeah, I mean, I guess we did go out for a nice dinner." And to them, they're super supportive of the fact that I am a cricketer and do all right at that from time to time and love seeing me be successful with it. But also it's really cool that that's just a really small part of who I am, and the success and failure that comes with cricket, whilst it is pretty hard to deal with sometimes when you are right in the midst of cricket. To them it's just another day, and they're pleased to have me at work when I'm there, and they love to give me a bit of stick for missing so much work through cricket. So it's just a nice mix. It's nice to be out in the community. It's nice to be working with people, from kids, and you see them grow up and you see their taste change in books, and you see, people in the community come in who life's been a little rough to them or a little tough at times, and it's a solace to come to. And we've got a couple of retirement homes based pretty close to my facility as well, so you get them, and that's the excursion from the day, and you get a few people come in and say, "Oh, we picked this particular rest home because it's close to a library and we needed books. We want to come and hang out." So it's just got a nice feel. It's nice to be around not sporting people. It's nice to be in the community, and it's nice to turn up to work and have people just like you for who you are rather than what you do on a cricket.
Do you know what's really cool? I'm a people watcher. I like watching people, and I like watching people have interactions. And so I while I was listening there, I was sort of sitting back and having a look at your interaction, and the smile and the joy in your voice, the the bit that you do sort of, well, there's words and there's movement, but there's just this absolute joy about your job that just reads right across your face, how fast you talk about it. You love this. I mean, and I look, I don't want to concentrate too much on it, because that's the easy bit about you, is to concentrate on something about, something a little bit abnormal, the library bit. It's not all of you, but you absolutely love that, don't you? This is you are at home there. That is your place, yeah?
Yeah, a little bit. Like, I'm pretty lucky being brought up around libraries as well. My mum has been a librarian for as long as I can remember. Wow. So, okay. It was working part-time. I was sitting in the corner of libraries, tucking into a book or a magazine, or entertaining myself around there. So it's a space that I definitely feel pretty comfortable in, and I love to read. I love books, and I think there's a book out there for everyone. Whenever people say, no, I don't read, I'm not into reading, don't have time, and it's like, no, there's a book out there, I reckon, for everyone that just draws you in and takes you through a roller coaster of emotions. And generally, once people find that book and find that piece of it, most people then go, oh yeah, actually reading, yeah, that's right. And it's different for everyone. Some it's true stories, some it's total fantasy fiction, a way to get away from normal life. Sometimes it's just that they can see themselves reflected in a book. So I guess that's the cool thing, to be able to work with that and hopefully point people in the right direction of the book that maybe gets them reading for life.
So this is where I do a quick little switch it up, and I go, what's it like living as an extrovert while being an introvert? Because you do not end up as a librarian if you're an extrovert. And typically the people that are big life are actually having to put on a bit of a front a lot of the time. So I'm going to go with, what's it like living as an extrovert, playing a sport that requires you to puff your chest out and sort of put up or shut up. How's that working out? How do you do that?
Yeah, I reckon, it sounds silly, but I reckon I'm pretty much 50-50. Like, I think people, especially now you're in lockdown, got 4 weeks sitting at home, and people say, "Poor, how are you going to cope?" And it's like, "Oh, actually, no, I think I'll be quite fine." Look, I love a sleep in. I absolutely love a sleep in. So the fact that my days can start after 10 o'clock every day now is just fantastic. Add to the fact there's time to read. Like, I live at home with my mum, so we go for a walk every day. We make sure, try and get a fitness session in every day as well, and then lots of Netflix to catch up on, which is cool. Sky finally got themselves a cricket channel, which you just devour, and you find yourself spending 4 hours at a time watching a game from 1995 and things like that. So there's lots of things to amuse me time-wise, and then of course technology helps so much. You're a phone call away from catching up with friends all around the world, or just down the road, or anything in between. So it's kind of that, to me, probably shows where my personality sits. I am at times energized from people, love the company, love physical contact, especially a team sport. I love what that brings, and the ins and outs of getting to know everyone, and basically being a big family. And once you become one of the old girls, you feel like your mum or grandma sometimes, with some of the young kids that are coming along. But I really love that. But then at the same time, I know that I need that time just to myself, to recharge, to curl up with a good book, to have some me time with my thoughts, and know that, I guess as you work your way through it, you work out what you need when you need it, and you just go about it as best you can.
Is it you cricket gives you that freedom now to I go back when I was first starting to play for Wellington, and a lot of the girls in the Wellington women's team, they weren't the Blades at that time, but they were doing similarly, they were working a part-time job, if you like, and trying to get away and play their occasional game of women's cricket, domestic cricket. Do you and they found that very difficult, because they were expected to work a full-time job, and there were only a few employers that gave them that space. Do you feel it's changed quite a bit, where you have, sounds like your employer does, you've got that space, that freedom, and also cricket adds to the pot of money that helps you exist and survive?
Yep, it's probably at a little bit of a tricky point, I'd suggest, for the sport at the moment. I think if you are one of the women who are at a stage where they're on a White Ferns contract, especially if you see yourself top of those rankings, that can be your job. And that's such a cool thing, especially, I mean, we've got girls as young as 15, 16 in our Canterbury Magicians environment, and to be able to say to them, look, if cricket's what you want to do, we will support you in every way, shape and form we can, and some really hard work now could put you in a position where cricket's your job. You go to work and you get paid to play cricket, hopefully in front of thousands of people and on TV and all the stuff that comes with that. But I would suggest we've got to a real struggle point in our domestic game. I think it's at a really, really tough point to try, and the people that have got those ambitions to play for New Zealand, to try and keep close or to try and bridge the gap to those White Ferns. I mean, this is the first year we've had domestic contracts, which is awesome and really cool to be on board with the Players Association and all the stuff that comes with that, all the support with that. The game's been screaming out for that for years, so that's pretty amazing to be part of that. But the money that we're getting paid, we're only getting on a domestic contract $3,250 before tax. So you're not getting rich quick out of it, and for that, be available to play 20 games of cricket and then the travel that goes with it. So it's tough. Like, we start our winter training.
So there's big elements where it's still the same. There's big elements where we're sort of 20 years ago, I guess, when I started, it slightly fewer, but so there's an element where it's still quite the same, where people are struggling to juggle a regular job, whether it be a part-time or full-time with a friendly employer, and juggling that into a first-class, a career of cricket. Still tough.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm lucky, like, I'm part-time. I've got a supportive employer. Most of the people playing, they've got pretty supportive employers as well, which is awesome. And I think you probably can't survive if you don't have that. But heck, for some of the people that are working full time, I mean, we train 6 till 8:30 at night. The next morning, you've got a 6 a.m. gym session that you've got to get in before you go and work. Another day, you've got training again that night. So you get really good at bookending your days and fitting as much in the middle in terms of work as possible. But that's probably the danger that I see at the moment. It just becomes more and more of a young person's game. That if you are at university, if you have that free time to fit in your extra sessions, your one-on-ones, to get your loads done, the extra fitness work, it's set up for them. But it's slowly changing. It's slowly getting there.
Slowly. Look, it always has been. Women's cricket always has been a girls' game, if you like, and I say that with the respect to the ones that are, like you said, the sort of 13, 14-year-olds that started to come in. It is a young one, because making a living and staying in the game is so damn hard. And you now become, like, you use your words, a grandma of the team, if you like, a mum and grandma of the team. And how you love that nurturing role, though. I've been speaking just recently to Ella Chandler, the English girl that's been playing down there, because she's stuck in Christchurch. We've been sort of similar situations. So I've been speaking to her just in the, and she says you've been a real massive influence in terms of that parental role. Not they weren't the words she used, but I know what I that was kind of what she was trying to say. Is that part of your motivation for staying in the game, or are you still driven by New Zealand's success in 2021?
No, that's probably the New Zealand side of things is probably not a driver. I wouldn't say that's something that gets me out of bed in the mornings to go to trainings or anything like that. I think, probably 2 or 3 years ago, if you'd said to me, you've got the chance to play for New Zealand again, I would have said, there's no way that it'll happen. I've burnt those bridges. The time has passed. I'm an old girl now. There's so many talented young players that with World Cups coming up, you'd invest in them. And then obviously had the chance to get back in black or back in the pink, as it was, and that lasted all of about what felt like 30 seconds. So that went well. But I guess to me, like, that moment just showed I was really not so much like the pride of playing for New Zealand obviously is always there as a young kid. That's what you want to do. But it was more around the pride of how hard I had worked and the things I'd gone through, and I guess the growing up and personal development you do along the way, to actually say, heck yeah, I guess I'm good enough to do this. And whilst I didn't have a big impact on that game, it was nice to know like the nerves were under control, the mind was clear, and I probably didn't have that the first time round that I played for New Zealand. So even though the second coming was short, I guess when you're out of the international scene for 4 or 5 years, you do end up with a lot of doubts as to whether you actually were good enough. Maybe maybe you're the only one that views your ability the way you do. So it was nice to get back there and actually say, nah, you know what, I was good enough to do this. And maybe if situations had been different, I'd be sitting here talking about having played 50 or 100 games for New Zealand, but not to be. And I think through that patch, you work out what's really important to you. And to me, that is the Magicians group. That is women's cricket as a whole. I played my 100th one-day game for Canterbury this year, which was a big statistical thing. I'm pretty open about the fact I'm a total stats geek.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely chasing the stats. But the bigger thing is the people. Like, I know the effect that some of those old girls when I was 16 had on me, and the fact that I still trot out some of the sayings that some of those girls used to say to me, and it's like, oh gosh, I've turned into, you know, this person and that person, and I'm sayings from 12 years ago, and half the team don't even know who these people are. But yeah, I guess when you get involved at that level, and it's changed a little bit as well. Our better players, our older players, they're all off playing the Women's Big Bash or playing for New Zealand, and that clashes. But when you start to see, I guess, the joy of the game being so young as well, you start to see they are girls at 16, 17, 18. They start becoming adults. And again, it sounds stupid, start becoming women, but they are. You see people, their personality change, their personality flourish. You see their cricket knowledge flourish as well. And you go from seeing a 16-year-old kid who you had to remind about tucking their shirt in and that kind of stuff. And then you see them, you know, it is a proud parent moment. You see the success they have on the field. You see the way they deal with things off the field. You see the achievements they've got off the field as well. And to be able to sit there and think, heck, maybe I'm the 1% in the success and the learnings that they've had. I think that's pretty cool. And hopefully it means that you inspire them to then do the same to the next lot. And then we're into a pretty happy cycle where I think your game ends up in a pretty good place.
You're still taking it pretty seriously, though, aren't you, in terms of your development and your. You smile. They can't see you when you smile when I'm asking a question, but you still take your game pretty serious, and you still talk about it even just here. You still talk about it again with that passion and joy that you were speaking about. You know, your librarian role. You still have. There still seems to be a fire. There still seems to be a desire to put that whatever color shirt it is on. It was beige for a while too. Did you get to play in that tan version? That was horrible.
No, never the tan.
Well done you. Well done you. That version was minging. But there still seems a real big desire for you to get back. What are you doing about that?
I think it's more a desire to just do really, really well. Like, I think you have enough time as a young player where cricket's really hard. I think people probably don't grasp that until you get to a certain age. But cricket, when you're in your early 20s, is bloody hard. And I think that's the downside of women's cricket, because to make it into an international men's side at 20, you're actually exceptional. You're a seriously gifted player to be making your way into an international side at 20. Whereas in New Zealand, that's not really odd. And across the world as well, in women's cricket, it's not odd to be doing that. But you actually don't really know yourself or your game that well at all. And I kind of think back, and at the time, all you wanted to do was play for New Zealand. You know you're close, you know you're on the fringe. All you want to do is play for New Zealand. It finally happens. It's the best day ever. You think it's so cool, and you've kind of got an image of what that looks like. But when you kind of get picked on the back of a season or two being outstanding and not really understanding what it's like to fail miserably or to be so devoid of confidence, you don't know what you're doing, and then you're traveling the world, and that's meant to be the best thing in the world as well. But all of a sudden, we go to cricket, and then we sit in our hotel rooms, and half a team of people you don't actually know that well because you've only played a few years of domestic cricket, and if you don't have the coping mechanisms to deal with that, like I found it really hard. I found it really, really difficult. I found it difficult that it changed my motivation for playing as well. All I wanted to do was play for New Zealand. So if I went for a run, it was so I was better when I played for New Zealand. If I was at training, it's so when I was playing international cricket, I'd be better. If I was playing for Canterbury, I wanted to win, I wanted to perform well, and I knew in the back of my mind that that'd make me a better international player. But I think I just got past that point where it's like, oh, I actually just really like cricket. Like if you said, do you want to go down to the driving range for 2 hours? I'd probably tell you I'd rather go hit balls on a bowling machine for 2 hours. So
I'd feed him for 2 hours, Frankie, happily.
It's just it's an enjoyment. I love the game. I love the training for it. I love the ins and outs, the ups and downs. And I tell you what, it's a lot more enjoyable when you have a lot more ups, which I think you do when you're a bit older and been around the block a few times, and situations aren't so daunting, and you've got a lot of, it is just experience to fall back on. You've been there, you've done it before, you can trust in that. If you're coming back from injuries and niggles, you've done it before, you're good enough, rather than that constant living on a knife edge, I guess, of double guess or second guessing. Are you good enough? Is it good enough? Will I see the success?
I don't give this away too often, and I don't tell too many people, so I'll tell you, which means I'm telling a few others in the room. But I wanted to play cricket when I thought I'd get a chance to play for Wellington, and I thought I would do okay. And then I played a little bit for Wellington, and I thought, you know what, I probably will play for New Zealand. I started thinking that I probably could, which is a real sort of male egotistical thing. That we're idiots because we always think above our station. But that didn't happen until after I got a season in for Wellington. But one of my motivations was, like you said, you go for a run, it's because you want to play for that. You go to the gym, it's because you want to do that. One of my motivations was, if I play for New Zealand, people will like me. It was all about me and my lack of sort of self-confidence or self-esteem. And if I play for New Zealand, that means I'm a success, and that means people will sort of be on board, and for the first time in my life, I'll sort of feel validation as opposed to knowing validation. It's a real different sort of motivator when you sort of take that one off and go, actually, gee whiz, I just really like playing cricket. It changes the game, doesn't it?
Yeah, totally. And I guess that's the interesting thing now is you get a lot of different motivations for it as well, especially now that money comes into it and the chance to fly business class around the world and that kind of stuff, which I'm sure would be very lovely to tick off at some stage. But yeah, when you strip it back, I guess it's nice to know deep down as well that, like, it sounds a bit corny, but your motivations are quite pure. Mm-hmm. Like I enjoy playing cricket. I enjoy turning up. I think my club side is one of the best collections of individual people that you could put together. We have a picnic lunch on a Saturday. We also win a lot of cricket games, which is really nice as well. I really, really do enjoy winning. But you just got such a good group of people that to rock up and play on a Saturday, it's like, this is awesome. This is a great time hanging out together, chasing leather around. Yeah, doing all right.
As opposed to playing cricket time, it's leisure. It's a thing you choose to do, as opposed to another Saturday you got to spend running around a park with average facilities and nowhere to get changed and those sort of things. It changes, doesn't it, when you have that love that you sounds like you have with this shared lunch and these sort of things, where you have a team full of people that look after each other.
Totally. And look, I'd love it if we turned up to some better wickets and if we had some changing rooms, especially when it's freezing cold outside, to be able to sneak into the pavilion and put your feet up for a bit. It'd be nice. But yeah, I guess when you start thinking about the reasons why you play, like when you're 10 years old, why'd you play? Because you loved it. There's something bizarre about it, that whether it's the seeking perfection, which I'd suggest probably for a large part of my career was a big part of it, the camaraderie with a group of people, the fact you spend so much time together, you can't help but learn these little weird and wonderful things about each other. I mean, some of my best friends ever are through cricket, and I just think that if you've got the opportunity to do something that you really, really love and enjoy doing it, and then there's all those positive kind of spin-off effects from it, you just think, this is pretty cool. This is a pretty cool thing. And look, I'm 5'6" and a little bit chubby and no fast twitch fibers to speak of whatsoever. I'm probably a little bit struggling to pick sports that maybe I could really exceed at. So I guess I'm lucky that cricket's one, that there's still a space for the more amateur athlete, and but I'm also just lucky that that's the sport I loved, just fell in love with, and there's definitely been along the way that I've fallen out of love with it, but it always tends to bring you back in.
When was that falling in love? That I was going to rephrase. I was going to put that in a different frame, that question, but you just framed it there, falling out of love. I was going to use it. Where was the tour? Where was the place where you were hating it? Because you spoke about that just a little bit. I have a hotel room in Bloemfontein that I cannot forget, that looked down over a swimming pool, and it was not a big swimming pool, but I could look out that window and I could see all the New Zealand, quite a few of the teammates out there having a nice time playing, talking, chatting, and I'm locked away in this pretty dark hotel room, hating everything, hating almost everything, struggling with almost everything. Where's that place for you, given that you said you found some of that life really hard?
Yeah, I think when I was 20, I went over and did a season in Holland, which was probably the best thing in the world, and potentially the worst. Drank too much, ate too much, came back far too heavy to be playing cricket, and just that was probably my first experience of just being burnt out with it. Like over there, trained 4 nights a week, played Saturday, Sunday. Amazing my cricket, came back and absolutely smoked it here, but just lost a little bit of the pure enjoyment of it. It was kind of almost became more a wee bit like a job. That was my 3rd season in a row, and it's we turn out, we play cricket, we go okay, we go home again. We front up and we do it all over again the next day. So that was probably the first little touching point of it. And then Gary Stead was the White Ferns coach for quite a number of years. And after he left, we had some new coaches on board. And just at that point, I found it really hard. I found just the general. I didn't play overly well for New Zealand, so that's always a hard thing to kind of go from being like, well, I'm good in domestic, I'm tearing it up in domestic, and I just cannot do it at international level, and still being, I mean, I was only in my early 20s, but it went from an environment where, when they're having leadership meetings with Batesy and Amy, then it was like, we want you to come along because we want you to sit in and have some discussions and talk cricket and talk the planning, and that felt really cool because I just love the tactical side, the talking cricket, the planning of it, love seeing that come to fruition. So loved being involved in that, and just thought that was the coolest thing ever. Went to a World Cup, my first World Cup in 2012, and thought it was the best thing ever, and then we got knocked out in the semi-finals, and I just thought, that's as hard as I can work. I've ticked every box 5 times over, I've slogged myself half to death, and we haven't even made the final. And then we came into some different coaches and management, and I kind of continued along with it, trying to get better and trying to find ways for the team to get better, and outspoken in the way that I did that. And I guess at 22 or so, that you don't necessarily notice that that's a bad thing. To me, I was being honest, it came from a good place, and all of a sudden it felt like the way I was getting treated was really different. My performances were not as great. I found myself then running the drinks a lot. And you just kind of wonder, you're like, if I'm working this hard and it is this hard and there's so little enjoyment in it because everything feels so hard, like, what am I doing here? But I guess I was lucky because every time that would happen, I'd go back to domestic cricket and had such good support there, good teammates, really good coaches that kind of let you work through that. And every year you learn a bit more about yourself, you learn a bit more about the game, and you get yourself into a good place. And like I really thought coming into 2014 World Cup that I wouldn't get picked because I'd played so terribly at domestic cricket. So I was, I'm not getting picked. One of my best friend's mums died of cancer, and that was just an awful time to be around. Cricket did fall on the back burner a wee bit because it's not as important as stuff like that. So I just thought, there's no way I'm getting picked. So you know, well, there's no stress. And then somehow I did get picked and went to a World Cup, and that was almost like turning point, I guess, in my career. I had some really good. I had a sit down chat with Shrimpo, who just kind of laid it all out and was like, "So what? You're a bit depressed. So what? Do you like playing cricket?" Well, yeah, I do. So play cricket and enjoy it, and then deal with all the other shit when you're not at cricket. And I guess just putting it like that was, yeah, I guess maybe you might be onto something. You've seen a few things in your time. And then the coach at that time was Warren Lees, and he flew me down to Dunedin and said, "Hey, look, I don't actually know you. I've only, you know, shaken your hands a couple of times as the Otago coach when you thumped us all around the park, but I've heard you're pretty tough to manage, and I've heard you're pretty outspoken, and you're a bit of a pain in the ass for coaches. So I'll put it to you straight. If you want to challenge me, you come knock on my door, and we'll go to the bar. We'll have a drink, or we'll sit somewhere and we'll have a meal, or you can come sit on my bed and we'll have a chat. And if I want to challenge you or hassle you about something, I'll offer you the same courtesy. I won't do it in front of the team. I won't call you out. I won't try and make you look small. But if you've got issues with how I do things, you come see me. Don't voice it in a team meeting. Don't talk to management. Don't talk to captains. Don't try and solve the world yourself, because you cannot save every single person, not your battle to fight. Come talk to me and we'll sort it out." And it was great. It was awesome. And I left that World Cup, even though we were knocked out before the semi-finals, which is the first time a team had done that. It felt pretty bloody awful at the time. I came home from that just thinking, heck, I know exactly what I'm going to do. I know exactly what I'm going to work on. I've got all these plans mapped out. I am so excited for where cricket's going. I think I've finally cracked it. I feel like I'm at home in this team and this group of people. I feel like I'm understood. I feel like I understand myself. And was like, yeah, I've got this. This is going to be awesome. And then 3 months later, I got a phone call that said, "Hey, so the first lot of women's contracting's coming out. We're offering 10 contracts, and you've got one. You're number 13. I thought, okay, would have been nice to scrape into the top 10, but okay, number 13. And then the phone call with a new coach, Warren had moved on, but phone call ended with, and we're naming the team for the West Indies in 2 days' time, and just because we're taking 13 players and you're number 13 on the list, don't think that means that you'll be going." And I got off the phone and thought, I'm not getting picked. I'm in real strife here. And I was actually at the Nets in May training for a trip in June that I thought I was going on and wasn't. And then probably for the next 3 or 4 years just felt like I got a little bit of a run around from selectors and coaches and stuff. And I guess when you feel like you're constantly slamming your head against a brick wall, you lose a bit of love for the setup, and I guess you have a little bit of I guess it does come down to jealousy a little bit. Like all you want to do is be playing international cricket, and you see your mates getting to do it and go to World Cups and that kind of thing, and you kind of think, well, heck, why not me? I'd love a second chance. Just please, someone give me one at some point. And it didn't come until last year, and obviously didn't last very long because I managed to ruin my ankle in about 2 seconds flat, which was not ideal. But I guess when you go through that, you just have these moments where you think it's almost like I hate cricket and everyone in it and everything that makes you feel bad and all that kind of stuff that goes with it. You get a bit of a chip on your shoulder, and then you actually strip all that stuff away and you go, well, that's actually not how I feel at all. Like I love the game. I love the people involved in the game. You know, I still, even now commentating the girls, I sit up there and you just want them to do well, and it's almost crushing when they don't as well, and you know how terrible they're feeling in the dressing room and in themselves too. So you kind of I feel like I went through all of the emotions of gosh, I guess everything, and then you get to a point you're like, no, I love cricket. I love the people. I've got a lot to offer. Is that at a World Cup? Probably not, but there's other ways to do it. There's other ways to help people, to inspire people, to make a difference to the game. And it probably meant I got slightly less, maybe not less outspoken, but just a bit smarter as to how I did that. And yeah, you just, I mean, I'm lucky. I've just ended up in a really good place. I've got a good bunch of people around me. I get to chase a little bull round on a Saturday, and now we get a little bit of money in our back pocket for that as well, and rock up to work, and I've still got time to spare around that. So I guess, yeah, you kind of have to really, I guess you have to go through a patch of it being really hard and it being not that much fun to realise, oh, actually, there's so much stuff going on that's just what you want to be a part of.
Right. That there is that there in itself is just the best. Thank you for that, because that's a whole lot that you just put out there. There's almost too much for me to sort of contemplate all of what you've just said there, because it is I'm being, don't take it lightly, because that is pretty much everyone's story. I think in there is everyone that plays cricket at some stage, whether it be club, whether it be provincial, whether it be international. Everyone has that very similar sort of interaction with the sport, and even any job, actually. That's a pretty similar interaction with any job. And you've just laid that out. No. I know. Genuinely, that was huge. I really, that was pretty cool. Thank you for sharing that. 1 second, though. Hold on, please. Now we're there. Sorry, I had to change internet connections because I think the mum's downloading movies to watch. You still there? Are you there? Yes, you're there. Okay, I can start it back up again. Can you hear me?
Excellent. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, all good. Now in that bit will be chopped out. Now in that you talked about burning bridges, and that's something that I know a little bit about. Being outspoken, being someone that probably thinks too much about some things, and therefore thinks that their opinion is valid and therefore needs to be aired. You spoke that when Warren Lees brought you back into the team, or gave you the opportunity to come back into the team, about how he wanted to manage that. What was Frankie like before Warren Lees? If you can, if you want to.
Yeah, look, it's kind of a hard one. I think in all honesty, haven't changed that much. Like I call a spade, and sometimes that's not overly well received, I guess. I think.
Is it because it's seen as a hit on someone's ego versus it's actually a really good idea, but there's an ego attached to, we're going to do it my way. I'm the coach. I'm in charge, and it's seen as and I'm gonna go with, the sport isn't still quite as professional as it could be, and so there is that challenging nature is an ego hit, as opposed to, well, I'm going to challenge you for the benefit of the game, of making us better, of us having a better chance of success. Is there still make baby steps in terms of egos, in terms of what is good and what is bad feedback?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's more probably around, for me, it was just around the delivery of it, and I think I probably expected coaches to make more of an effort to understand me and what makes me tick, so then they could understand where I was coming from a bit more. But when you've got the benefit of hindsight, it's probably I could have made more of an effort to get to know them a bit more, because even though they're proper adults and have got the benefit of being a bit more experienced, we're all still people that are all still dealing with our own shit that goes on in between our ears, and we've still got our own things, that self-doubt and all that stuff along with it. So I guess I was probably just a bit naive that once you hit your 40s and you're a coach, that all that just disappears, that you'd be so sure of yourself and you knew what you were doing, and maybe that was just unfortunate that I had some really amazing coaches when I was young that were really just sure of themselves, and if you said something they didn't like, or you acted in a way they didn't like, they just pulled you into line. They just told you that's sit down and shut up, and you can have your chat in a couple of minutes' time, but I've got some more things that I want to say first. And you just go, okay, it's no big deal. I mean, like I had some Stephen Kunis, he was our magician's coach for a while, and look, we had some massive blow-ups from time to time because we didn't.
I can see you and CUNY having a couple of blow-ups. Yeah, I can see that. Knowing CUNY.
But then you front up the next day and it's good as gold, because it is kind of like it was just like being in a big, at times slightly dysfunctional family that, if we had a problem with how we did things, sometimes we'd be, driven up the wall by it, but we'd sit down, sometimes it'd be the morning of the next day before we played the next game, and it's like, right, let's just, we get to the ground. I'd always get to the ground super early to have some throwdowns, and generally always the first person at the ground. So he'd say, get there 10 minutes earlier than that. We'll have a chat. And we'd chat things out, and then you'd never know that we'd had a bust up, or sometimes it'd be straight after a game, and you'd sit down and have a beer and talk about the game and debrief the game, and then you'd kind of go, oh, hey, so when you said this and this to me, that actually drives me insane. Can you not? Yeah, okay. Sorry, it wasn't my intention. Cool.
Yeah.
And coming from like a Steady and a CUNY and such an experienced, supportive Canterbury group that just kind of gently nudged you to make sure that you always stayed on the right direction with things, and if you did get out of line or it was felt like it was too much, it was just a little shunt back, like no, come on, you can do a better job of that. And then I think just coming into the New Zealand environment, it wasn't like that. It wasn't what I expected. I kind of expected the culture to be better than the Canada side, and it wasn't. It wasn't at all. And you kind of go, that's not quite right. And I've got all these ideas as a young, keen, cricket-loving person. If we do this a bit differently, if we change the way we do this, if we change this, we'll be so much better. And when you've played 100-something games for New Zealand, or you're like, no, I don't really want to hear that. And coaches at times would just take that as I didn't believe in their program and what they were saying, but it wasn't necessarily an I don't believe it situation. It was more just like, I just want people to get better. I like trying. I like being able to find, especially if you can find statistical stuff that backs up what you're saying. It's like, well, why don't we give this a red hot crack and see if we can be, the first team in the world that's doing it like this? How cool would that be? And then, I guess you just learn. You learn as you get a bit older that my communication style isn't the same as everyone else's. Theirs the same as mine. You've got to kind of sit down and unpick the messages that people are giving you, and make sure that every time you open your mouth that you're actually trying to put it across the best way possible. Because look, I don't want to offend. There has probably been times in my career that I have said things that have been designed to offend, and I think we can all admit to that at stage of our lives. But I think the frustrating thing for me was, like, my teammates, they knew that it was coming from a really good place, and I've still got really good friends in that White Ferns group, and we still keep in touch, and they could see where it was coming from and wanted me to have every success. But then just a bit of a life and experience just couldn't quite get it across the right way. And when you start getting pigeonholed as being a troublemaker or as being disruptive or anything like that, it follows you. And I can remember saying to Haiti, probably 3 or 4 years down the track, when she was coaching and I wasn't playing anymore, and it was kind of like, okay, well, you've given me all this negative feedback of stuff I did when I was 22. I'm 25, 26 now. Ooh, how do I ever prove to you that that's not? And that was, I guess, a bit of a a cause of frustration. But it's, I mean, I say it to a lot of our young magician skills now. If you can sit down with yourself and look at, you know, it sounds a bit cheesy as well, but if you look in the mirror, or you spend time with the people you love, and the people that are special to you, and you actually can sit there and say, you know what, I'm actually a pretty good person. Yeah, I've got some good values that I won't change. I won't modify just to fit in with people. And
these things to benefit us as opposed to just me. This is about making us better. Maybe my words aren't right, but let's get better.
Yeah,
I know that.
yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
You know, my gravestone will read, "You didn't have to wonder what he was thinking." Now, and that's already covered. That's already carved in. That's already been carved in, and rightly or wrongly. And you know, I was outspoken, and I thought we could, you know, in some situations, yeah, men's cricket could do things differently. So I think women's cricket hasn't evolved as quick as it should do. And I think there's still a lot of parts of the women's cricket game that is way too slow, and it still frustrates me. Where do you see some of those changes that you had back then? How do you see them taking that women's game forward?
Oh, that's a good one. Now, I think the players, as much as the old girls probably hate to admit it, I think the players now are probably more skillful. They have the ability to do some things on a cricket field that are just freakish. You know, you watch the way someone like a Sophie Devine hits the ball, and that's how we're teaching kids to play now. You know, you're seeing young kids, and we're like, go whack the heck out of it. And I think that's such a difference from, you know, like when we won that 2000 World Cup, which is should have been such a massive moment in our sport, and really should have propelled the sport forward. But, you know, like 200's not a winning score in one day internationals anymore. You cannot, with the calibre of wickets playing on.
What are the things that you preach now to make the game better? Are you comfortable?
I think at a domestic level, we've got to get a little bit more professional, I think.
Yeah.
That, and that's not, I mean, yeah, everyone would say, you know, of course we'd love some more money. Yeah, absolutely. But it's to me, it's not necessarily that. I just think I look to when I started playing, you know, 13, 14 years ago, the professionalism that was in a completely amateur team was just off the charts. Like, it's just, even now, you know, I feel like such an old lady banging on about, oh, back in the old days when they used to do this. But I mean, our manager now for Canterbury, she lived in Timaru when she was playing her career for Canterbury. So she'd drive up from Timaru twice a week for training, every week for club cricket, every week for games, and that was just the norm. That was just expected. Do you want to play for Canterbury? Well, you'll drive yourself up at your own cost. And I think that I think just change. The way that people go about things is just different, and I think cricket has to find a way to recapture that a little bit. I think in the women's game especially.
Let's take money out of it, because that is just one of those things that we can't control. Yeah. Let's talk about skill bases and playing and the things that money doesn't have any effect on, in terms of ideas around what is women's cricket lacking that would make it more money come back to the game, if you like, or more money in the game. What is it? What part of the game frustrates you the most, where you don't think it's developing? It's pushing forward.
It's taken a long time to get us on TV. It's taken a long time.
Let's talk about just playing only, because we can't control that, but we can control the aspect of playing the game in terms of having influence. That bit, I get it, I've talked about that a lot, and I've had on. I'll try and park that, because I don't want to spend 4 hours on here. But let's just talk about straight the playing part of it. What bits of women's cricket can improve? That it's because I've got a couple of thoughts, but I want to hear and see if I'm anywhere near what you think.
I think the whole lot. I think players need to hit more balls. They need to bowl more balls. God, it would be. I mean, the longest form of cricket people play now is one-day cricket, so I think you lose a bit of the art of batting, the price on your cricket, all that kind of stuff. I don't meet many young players who come through who really, really fight and graft hard and make 50 off 100 and something balls because they can't get it off the block, but they're damn sure they're not going to get out.
Yeah.
I think we need
that.
How do you implement like that?
Yeah.
You've got to make it, I don't know what it is, but to me it's like you've got to make it cool. You've got to make working really hard seem cool. You've got to try and instill that in players, that you don't just have to go out there and whack everything, every single ball, that actually the art of making good decisions and batting for a long period of time is actually really fun too. It's really satisfying to be able to do that. And I think it's tactical knowledge and awareness that's probably the biggest aspect for me. I'm forever banging up, watch cricket, listen to the people that have played so much cricket, that are getting paid to talk about cricket, listen to what they've got to say, listen to Shane Warne talk about spin bowling, like listen to these people.
You've touched my area there. Okay, so I think there's a lot of women's cricket. So you've exactly nailed that, the tactical. You've exactly nailed it. I think a lot of women's cricket is still based on the men's game because that's what's been on TV. I think a lot of women's cricket in terms of fielding positions is based on what is seen on TV. And I watched that women's final, and I'm just thinking that's a man's bowling field as opposed to a women's bowling field. And and even at the World Cup final in front of 86,000 fans, and that was amazing. I'm watching that game and I'm going, this is okay. It wasn't a great game because Australia ran away with it, but I'm still looking at it and going, you're making, for me, absolutely basic level, fundamental tactical decisions wrong. That comes down to A, playing time, because you don't get to play enough cricket, and B, what cricket you do get to watch is men's cricket mostly, so that sways your planning and strategies. Am I onto something here, or am I shouting into a void?
Yeah, I think a little bit, and I think there's just not that many, like, I think when I've spent time in men's cricket teams, or chatting cricket with the third or fourth grade team after club games and stuff, there's just men sit down and talk about cricket, and that's obviously a really massive broad generalisation, but men tend to finish a game of cricket, they come off a field, especially when you're talking about the fourth grade guys, they crack into a beer straight away, but you sit down and you talk about cricket, you talk about the field and that, whereas women do. We finish the game. Wow. We have at Canterbury level, we have a debrief that we all feel like is pulling teeth. We pack up our kit, we go back to the hotel, we sit with our room, spend most of our time trying to decide what we're going to have for dinner, and then we watch on TV, go to bed, do it all again the next day. Wow. Very little. Let's talk the ins and outs of cricket and what did we think about that field and that bowler and that plan and what. And I think those just like casual conversations are the really key thing. And as well, when we're kids, if you ever go past a set of, high school nets or club nets or whatever on a random day, boys are there. Young boys are there playing, and they're like, I'm going to bowl a Shane Warne now. Mm-hmm. And the guy down the other end's like, yeah, I'm going to play a Brendan McCullum shot. Whereas don't do that. Girls, if they go and have a net, are like, I'm going to hit my technically correct front foot drives. Yeah. I'm going to try and bowl just what I bowl every said day. And I think the development of players gets stunted because of that, because there isn't that informal chat. There's not that informal play. Because I can guarantee you most boys who've been involved with cricket, by the time they get to 20, can bowl some form of a leg spinner, an off spinner. They've tried bowling with their left arm. They love to run off the long run and try and bump their mates. They've played every shot under the sun at some point in their life, and girls just don't do that. So there's a little bit of a split with that kind of stuff as to how to encourage play and how to encourage talk about the game, because it's sometimes amazing when some of the conversations you do end up happening and you're like, wow, that's your perception of cricket and how you see the field and what we're doing. But it's not their fault, because you don't know what you don't know. If you're not exposed to that, then you've got no way of learning, and that's why I'm always just like, just watch cricket. Any cricket will do, any cricket conversation will do. And ideally what happens is we get more and more women's cricket on TV, more and more women's sport on TV. You can see yourself, you see situations that are going to happen to you, and then you actually learn from it. I think especially where you notice it is like chasing, teams batting second, chase down runs. And blokes, if you leave 100 to get off the last 10, you're kind of like, yeah, it's a flat wicket, short boundaries, we'll do that.
Yep.
Women basically never happens. But teams generally are still like, oh, as long as it's under 10 and over for 10 overs, we should be okay. Whereas based in realism, we're not. But based on what you're...
So I don't think women's teams chase well at all. I don't think women's teams, you win the toss and bat first. I did some stats a wee while back when I was doing some commentary. Not a lot of teams chase average scores very well. They chase low scores very well, but anything average, there just isn't the experience. There isn't the game time to bring that game up the level. So more cricket, which is just impossible because it's money. But there is so much more than money that could shift the game forward. I watched Robbie Kirk coach the Wellington Blades when I was playing for Wellington, and he was doing things with that Wellington thing with that Wellington team that are still, I don't see a lot of happening in the game. He was just asking them all to smash it, and so there's Sophie Devine sort of scenario, because she was young quickie that could biff a ball. And Rucky was Sian Ruck was the left armour that was swinging it and going all right, and she was trying to biff it. That didn't really work too well for her. Bless you, Rucky.
Love to try though. Love to have a nudge at that.
No, but this was the game that he saw where the game had to go, as opposed to little delicate and little flourishes that what girls and women could give to the game. He was trying to bring a power game. And this is going back to early to mid 2000s. And I still haven't seen that take off as a style, if that makes sense. It hasn't become a thing. It's still a part, but it's not a thing. Is that part of where some of your frustrations lay?
A little. Like, I definitely, absolutely cannot biff it all around the park. So I'm probably, as a player, a little bit.
You're a cover driver. You're a cover driver. That's fine. That's one of those. That's one of those shots.
Yeah, it's I think. Look, I think mainly why those skills. I think most of the girls now can do it. Like, if you turn up to the nets and watch these women play, they biff it all over the show. And I think the biggest issue why it doesn't translate to games is just a little bit of lack of player depth. If your top five gets knocked over for not many, you're in a bit of trouble. You're going to struggle to put a good score on the board. So then, probably with the exception of people like a Sophie Devine, you get people who are very natural strikers of a ball who still have this real desire to not get out, because they know that they're really going to put their team in a bit of a tight spot. So I think once you start developing the depth of the game, then it's going to mean people, coming out to bat at 7 and 8 are still bats. Then your players who are batting up 3, 4, 5, they can just go out there and say, oh, here's an off spinner who doesn't turn it much. Got the wind up my backside, I'm going to thump them into the car park, because the skills are there. Like, I am just, in all honesty, I'm constantly amazed by some, especially our younger players that turn up, and when you give them the freedom in the nets, they just whack you all over the place. So the skill development side of it is there, and there is a big push on it. I know we do, like, coaching wise, we do a lot of it with the younger girls coming through now, because that's the way the game's going. But yeah, it's just that feeling of, once you are one of the better players, you don't want to be the one that's irresponsibly run down the wicket to try and biff the part-timer, and you're out, and now your team's 4 down, and all of a sudden they're 7 down, and you go, oh shoot, I've made a bit of a mistake. So the game is in such a good place in terms of the talent and skill that's there. It just needs some fine-tuning. It just needs some tweaks, so that, I mean, we played Jess Watkin from the City Hinds this year. She hits the ball as far as anyone you would want. We played Plain Park, and the groundie said, we're going to leave the straight boundaries at 83 metres.
Yeah.
Most of us, holy heck, 83 metres, we're going to be...
Yeah, that's all right.
Blood
I hit the
boys.
cow. It's fine. I only hit the cow. It doesn't matter what the straight ones are.
We would, heck, if the drives are up in the ring, we're going to be running 4. Like, this is awful. And she comes out in the second over of the match and smokes one, straight over the boundary.
Yeah.
Not a thought of it. And it's like, oh, that's really handy. That's a proper cricket shot. And you just hit the ball miles.
And how much does that filter down then in terms of, oh my word, she just does it. She just done it. And then there's this massive confidence that hits the rest of the team like an injection. And you're like, huh, she can. I can, because I can hit it as far as her sometimes in the nets. I'm going to give it a whack.
Yeah.
It takes one person, yeah?
Yeah, exactly. It's just... And the more, it just comes back to that exposure and that TV stuff as well. But you hear kids now, they want to be Sophie Devine. They watch Sophie Devine whack bowlers all over the place, and I want to be her. I'm going to try and bat exactly like Sophie Devine.
I wanted Sophie Devine's bowling action going way back. I watched her in the nets at Wellington for the Wellington Blaze. I did a teeny tiny little bit of work way back. And I wanted her action. It was never going to happen, but she's got a strong backside, which means that she can hit the ball and she can bowl fast, and she's got a gift there and she's using it. And it's so awesome to see her still going, because she could have been one of the ones that went, okay, dual international. She could have gone and played hockey. But she also could have just been another one of the girls, woman that slides away and out of the game. So awesome to see Soph still playing and still smashing it. Your 178 run partnership this year, just 3 sort of a record for Canterbury. That's awesome.
Yep, it was. Look, I tell you what, that was bloody hard work. If you've anyone who turned up to Pookie Park once it had rained all week, I actually can probably say turned up to a wicket as green as that.
Oh.
And yeah, when day 2 we lost the toss, and the umpires actually said, okay, so I'm assuming you're putting Canterbury into bat. So yeah, CD skipper goes, yeah, that's what we're gonna do. As the opening bat, you're trying to slap a smile on your face that everything's okay, but your heart's just sinking through your chest and into your boots pretty quickly. So
let me stop you there. Now, from a men's perspective, I would be looking at that going, it's actually going to do less right now, and as it dries out a bit more, it's going to do a bit more. This may be a good chance to bat first, and that's only through experience. I say that. Now keep going with your story. Does that make sense?
Day 2, though. This was day 2 that we got sent in. So we'd already played a day on it, seen it steam all over the show.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
This was day.
Go back and delete that.
So yeah, we knew well and truly what we were in for, and I think the game got shortened down to 48 overs because the outfield was so wet from the dew, which only makes you feel better when you're like, well, the ball's not going to go anywhere when I bloody hit it anyway. So this is fun. And look, they bowled exceptionally well. Hannah Rowe up top, had the ball just on a string, hooping around left, right and centre. And it was odd because I think in the first 15 overs, I think we were on like 32 for done. And we were like, oh, God, we're never going to run. And you hear the clapping
you're doing that whole women's cricket thing. You're 2 runs over. Oh, no, Frankie, don't do this.
No, you hear it from the sideline when you're getting the keep going, girls. Strange claps, and you're like, we are trying really
Run them hard. Run hard.
Yeah, which is not my forte, so that I don't often get that yelled at me. People have learned to respect themselves that one because it's just going on deaf ears. And it was this. It was nice because if you ask me as an opening batsman, the times that I would find the most satisfaction in an innings, it's when you turn up on an absolute green seamer and it's really, really, really hard and you get through that and then you can flourish at the end. And that's a bit what that was like. And we probably ended up 10 or 15 short, which was a wee bit disappointing. But to be able to do that. And I mean, that was with Ella, and I
Yep.
mean, she's come over here to play some club cricket as an overseas pro. She's trained with us, got a chance to play a bit of cricket with us as well, and she had been in our middle order, and our opening batsman was injured from the first day of the round, so Ella came up to the top and battled through. And it's just those kind of things that you're like, that's really cool. You know, you're 19, you're out here as an overseas pro, you've turned up to this filthy green seamer, you've got a couple of New Zealand bowlers on the other side running and making us look a little bit on the silly side, and to be able to kind of fight through and put a good score on the board. It was nice, and you just get to a point in your innings where you kind of think, stuff it, if they give me anything at all, I've got to throw the hands through it because we need some runs. And then you hit a couple out of the middle, and then a couple more, and all of a sudden you're like, heck, I'm really good at this. Gosh, look, it's really flattened out, hasn't it, guys?
Well, so you can biff it, is that right?
I can biff it along the ground. Yeah. I hit the ball pretty hard on the ground from time to time. Just doesn't go very far if I'm trying to hit it in the air.
Well, when you finish reading all your books and catching up with some of these your rest after your busy season, you know what you've got to go and do, please.
Just biff it. Yeah, it's much. I tell you what, it's easier to just sit up in the comm box and say, hey, that's such a good shot. Look at how she's biffed that a million miles, than having to try to do it myself. Much easier to talk whacking it than.
I haven't touched on your transition yet because because that's the smallest part of this. No, because I could see that, and when I met you the first time, and you had loads of questions, and you had interaction that suggested there's a want to find out sort of things, and so I am so not impressed that you're in the commentary box, because there's part of me that was like, Frankie was always going to end up in the commentary box, and it's great to see sooner rather than later, and it's great to see these are not compliments, these are just facts, if you don't mind. These are just you don't even just fit in. Like you're not even a female commentator anymore, if I can use it that way. You're just a commentator, and that is a huge piece of well done you. Again, not really a compliment, it's just a fact, but it sounds like you feel comfortable there as well. It sounds like you have your opinions, and your forthrightness is appreciated.
Yeah, look, it's a good gig, and I think that's the thing. Like, I am such a cricket nuffy that any job really in cricket does appeal. Like, if people go, I think, oh, maybe when I do get old, maybe I could be a scorer with all my different coloured pens, and what a good gig. I could sit there and just watch cricket all day. Like, how good is that? And whilst I still love playing, I think the commentary is just something so different, but not so different that it kind of works out perfectly. Because the first time it's like, okay, you're going to go and do the pitch report, and it's like, oh, what, live? I've never done one before. And they go, you'll be fine, just go and do it. And it's like, yeah, what's the worst that can happen? Yeah. Sure. But it's kind of still close enough to comfort zone, because I love talking about patches of grass, and I love talking about cricket. And so it's kind of like you have that moment of, you're like, oh gosh, I really hope this goes well, and I'm not going to embarrass myself on TV. But at the same time, it's kind of like, well, this is the coolest thing ever, because think of all these amazing cricketers before me that have been stabbing keys into the pitch and putting their hand down cracks at the whacker and stuff like that. And you think, oh, cool, yeah, I'm gonna have a crack at this pitch report stuff. This is good fun.
And you're out there, and you're rocking the dreads. You're doing it your way, that's also really hard. That's against the flow as well, isn't it?
It is a little different. There's been copped a little bit of flack for the old dreadlocks and stuff along the way, but hey, that's all right.
But that's you, yeah?
Yeah, totally. Totally.
But it doesn't define you. But that's you. That's your. That's Frankie. That's Frankie Mac. That says things that she believes in, and she goes about her business in the most living to her morals and to her expectations. That's you, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And I guess that's the kind of cool thing about it is, as much as you hate to see it, but generally, if you look to competitions like the IPL and the Big Bash and stuff, if you've got it is definitely starting to change. I mean, like Mel Jones and Lisa Stalaker and the like, they do, such a good job. And I mean, the amount of female commentators I could list off, but traditionally, the people that get the screen time, they're doing your pitch side interviews, that kind of hosting kind of role, and they are just drop dead gorgeous, and they're a size blooming 0 on a bad day, and you don't necessarily, there's a lot of people who don't fit into that mold and who don't see themselves as that, so almost think, well, I can't do it. Because I think that's the big thing where I suppose with anything, we tend to use it a lot. I tend to use it a lot, especially for women's sports or things where you find yourself the minority, is you often, if you can't see someone like yourself in that role, then straight away, even though you might really want to do it, you almost just put it out of reach because you don't see anyone of your likeness doing it. So hopefully there's some 10-year-old dreaded smooth talker, loudmouth, whatever you want to call it, running around in the nets trying to bowl every variation under the sun and trying to bowl it with their left arm as well, and they think, sure, she gets to talk about cricket, she gets to go on the TV and watch cricket all day and talk about it, and hopefully that they sit there and think that's the coolest thing ever, and rather than, I guess, like for me, I was really surprised when there was the opportunity to go and do it. It was kind of like, oh, me, this. I'm still playing. I'm young. I've been listening to Ian Smith since I could walk. You kind of think, oh yeah, you want me to have a crack at this, okay? And to think, I was probably, like you say, you weren't surprised to see it happen, but for me it really was, because it kind of felt like I didn't fit the mold or the look of what they were going for from a woman's I guess presenter or commentator, and to then be able to get stuck in and get some praise come your way as well, and earn the respect of guys, I mean, like a Smithy, who's been doing it for so long, so good at what he does, and is so charismatic in the way he does it as well, and the rest of the guys in the box are no different either. And you kind of like, oh, I spent my childhood watching you on the TV, and now we go to work together. Like, this is pretty cool. So hopefully it means that the world is changing, and there'll be lots of women coming up into the comm box, and there'll be lots of young women who are sitting there thinking, what do I want to do after school, or what do I want to do after my sporting career, and actually thinking, yeah, there's a spot for me. I'm going to sit up in the box and put my feet up and give some opinions on what's going right and what's going wrong.
Given what you think of yourself, and you think of the possibly the limitations on you, given your thoughts on yourself, please just go and smash some ceilings, because there is nothing beats knowledge in my world, in my what I look for and what I hope to get from people that are in front of me, listening to the radio, watching TV. There is nothing smarter. There is nothing more energizing than knowledge. So please put some of those things out of you. Just go and be the bear, because you got a brain that I think has been down some holes, and therefore is one of those. Cricket's not a natural sort of sport. Say a bit like Sophie, she's pretty damn good at everything she touches. So sport isn't it's not a naturally gifted thing. It's something you've had to work hard at. They make the best people to talk about the game. So go forth and go and break some molds and be that person, because you're a pretty good role model, I reckon, for all people.
Too kind.
Oh.
That's what. Yeah. And now we're all emotional, and we cut the video before we see tears. But no, that's the kind of stuff that I guess is really. I guess it's really cool to hear, and I guess I've just been lucky to come across some good people along the way. That, I mean, like Leslie Murdoch is just she's just this amazing just wealth of knowledge. And sometimes you get people who if they're someone in a niche market, which I guess she was as one of our kind of leading female commentators, that sometimes you get people want to protect their little bubble with that. They want to be the person that provides that. But she has been just anything but. If there's ever been an opportunity to push me into doing something that at the time makes me feel very uncomfortable, but in the end works out well, then that's always the way, and has just been so just the way she just kind of brings everyone along. You're like, that is cool. That is to be.
Imagine being able to have that confidence in yourself that someone else has in you, eh?
Yeah, it's such a cool. And so you kind of go, are you sure you want me to do that? And she goes, yeah, and you do it, and it works out okay. And she goes, oh, I knew it'd be fine. Like, it's just water off a duck's back, and every now and again shoots you through a bit of advice, like don't say stuff like that, or hold your mic up a bit higher, and it just always comes from such a good place that when you've got people like her and I mean the rest of the commentary crew and both radio sport as well, like those guys have been fantastic. And so like I was so crushed when I saw the almost immediate news of them coming off here, because I walked into a comm box and kind of said hey and shook hands with people that I'd never met before, and by the end of the day you walk out and you feel like you're best friends, and you've got people that check in, and that when you're standing there awkwardly at lunch scanning the room, single person that and all of a sudden they come up and talk to you like you've been friends for 10 years. So I mean there's just so many good people out there in the sporting world and in the broadcasting world, that it's just so cool to have stumbled across that and been shoved in a few places by Leslie and a few people who've put in good words as well, that then when you get involved in the radio sport and Sky TV, and look, I haven't done any work with them, but I'm sure Spark will be no different whatsoever. I'm sure they'll have these fantastic people as well working for them, because it just does create like almost another little weird bizarre family dynamic that you end up nestled in.
It makes life easier looking forward. Hey, on that on where we've got to, where it's real happy, smiley, future's bright, and mate, thank you for this little journey that you've taken us on today. Because I have this. I don't say this lightly. This has probably been my favourite of all the ones, just because of your honesty, because of how you can tell that you've thought a lot about stuff, and I appreciate that, because that's I spend way too much time inside my own head sort of thing. So I absolutely appreciate your honesty. I knew this was going to be really good. I knew you were going to be. I was going to enjoy this. So, Frankie, thank you so much. That was that's one of the best hour 20s I've spent for quite a long time. Thank you so much.
No worries at all. Always good fun to sit down and chat cricket and right the wrongs of the cricket world and throw some ideas out there for people listening as well. But it's good to chat, and hopefully it's passed a little bit of time for you as well. No, it must be pretty tough being on the other side of the world from wife and kids too. So fingers crossed we'll pass some time. It means there's a flight coming soon. And
Thank you for your generosity, for thinking of I'm just trying to keep busy. Like, what do I do? Yes. Oh yeah. Thank you for your charity, Frankie.
Yeah. So fingers crossed you can get back there soon with the little E's as well. I'm sure they're missing you lots, but always good to have a yarn with another fellow cricket nuffy as well.
Nuffy, ouch. Okay, all right, I'm going to stop recording now. Thank you.